Are you serious? Are you serious? Folks, today on my live radio broadcast, my guest was Economist Fabian Calvo, and we were asking him, he gives speeches and he all the time on Wall Street. He knows a lot of investment bankers, and I'm just asking him about a lot of stuff. We had a great show, and so you really need to listen to the interview. It was powerful. But he made some news today because I asked him, how many of these bankers are going to die? What's going on? We have 31 dead bankers. And he says, there will be hundreds. Hundreds will die because the global elitists are afraid that another Edward Snowden out of the banking industry will come forward with emails and information showing the corruption of the New World Order. And so I tell you what I want to do. I want you to hear about 10 minutes of this interview. It's powerful. And so let's go there now. This is about 10 minutes of today's broadcast as he talks about how these dead bankers are going to come to pass. Certainly, this is very disturbing.
Let me say this, and I say that with all sincerity because they are afraid of social media. They're scared of the organization of people who are tired of it. They understand that knowledge is lethal. Matter of fact, the Word of God says, you quoted it earlier today when you said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And the reason a lot of people have lack of knowledge is what you just said just a moment ago. They don't believe it. They're hearing it. You mean that the Obama administration is supporting Al-Qaeda and actually transferring funds to help them fight a war in Syria? Yes. Oh, I can't believe that. You mean there's 6 Muslim Brotherhood employees working in the White House? Yes. Oh, I can't hardly believe that. See, they don't want to believe it. It's because it's to the point that it's choking the air out of their hope. And I'm going to ask you a question. You talk about these corruption. There's not one banker went to jail. It's been covered up. Everybody's scratching everybody's back. But what about these? Now we've got 31 dead bankers. We've got 31, Fabian. We even had a woman executive, they said, got up from a meeting and ran and jumped out of a 10-story window, which I'm not buying. But we had a banker run over in Australia by a soccer mom. Well, it was a soccer mom van. But it was a hit and run. We never found him. We have a banker who they say committed suicide in the garage when he shot himself 7 times with an air gun in the head. If you're buying that, I got some swampland here in Indiana and in Arizona. My question is, what are you hearing? Look, some of your clients, some of your customers, I know, are Wall Street bank, investment bankers, people you know. What is the story on the street? What is the answer to this phenomenon of dead bankers?
Well, I've had two people comment on this. To tell you the truth, most of my contacts are very mum on this. One of them told me, we think, or I think, that this is going to go into the hundreds because I can just think, and this is quoting him. He said, Fabian, I think this is going to go into hundreds of bankers dying because I could just think of commentary at conferences that I've attended where people are openly vocal about the speculative derivative bubble that's being created, about the fraud within the forex trading, about the fraud within the LIBOR rate rigging. And they've been openly vocal about it because they're, not everybody on Wall Street's evil. Not every banker's evil. There's people that want it on the system and want to clean it up. So that's one point. The other point, a buddy of mine in London who works at a pretty prominent bank, all he would tell me, quote unquote, is people are scared. And to your point about the lady jumping out of the building, most of these deaths, or I think about a third of them, have been people jumping to their death. And again, every major suicide expert out there will tell you that is the least way that people kill themselves. So there's no doubt these are people that are being killed. The system understands that it's just one person. I recently released, in anticipation of my book that I released, a little film, about 7 minutes, about the global economic reset. And I talk about how the biggest problems we face are not the derivative bubble. It's not the debt bubble. It's none of that. It's the lack of trust in the financial system. And all you need is one Edward Snowden-type person coming out, exposing the fraud, and not only exposing it, but proving it. And it's game over. I mean, overnight, you can see the financial system shut down because if people don't have confidence in it, if there's no trust whatsoever in the market. I mean, think about after the 2008 stock market crash. I think they've done a pretty bang-up job of trying to lure in or class to think that that's real wealth in the stock market, but it's not. It's all a big Ponzi scheme. It's like you know, if you think you got a good chance in the stock market, I would make the argument you probably have a better chance going to Biloxi or going to Las Vegas and playing 21, because that's what they've turned the stock market into. So right. I think that's what the system is scared to death of. And I'll tell you right here now, we're going to continue to see more banker murders, so-called suicides. They will continue to happen, in my opinion, week after week and month after month.
So, in other words, the word you hear on the street, and like you said, most of your customers, most of the guys that you know in the financial world are pretty mum on this. They don't want to say anything. But in your own opinion and the opinion of others, that there's not just going to be 31 dead bankers. It's not just a phase. It's not some kind of a weird. People didn't eat bad pizza. There's going to be hundreds. I heard the word hundreds. And the
no doubt.
Huh?
I said there's absolutely no doubt. And to a quick point too, Pastor Paul, is that I've only seen literally one article from the New York Post addressing this. The media is absolutely, the corporate media is absolutely mum on this. Probably one of the biggest financial stories of the last decade, and it's crickets from the mainstream media.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. And when we get these reports, and I have to say, it's the Hagman, it's Doug Hagman and his son Joe Hagman who actually broke this story when the 13th banker died. Doug linked them. They were all linked to J.P. Morgan at the time. Either they worked for J.P. Morgan, most of them, or they were large bank customers, CEOs, owners of banks, executive presidents, executive vice presidents. I mean, we even got the executive vice president of bankruptcy, the top bankruptcy lawyer of all of J.P. Morgan worldwide, committing suicide. Are you buying that? We got a guy who was due for a $10 million bonus. That dude doesn't jump out of a window. He buys a Jaguar. Come on, somebody. The story is off track. And we have to dig to find these stories. I mean, literally, we have to dig from some weird Australian newspaper or somewhere, in Amsterdam or somewhere. I mean, we're having a hard time finding these stories because, as you say, the mainstream media is burying this story. They don't want anything to do with it because it would expose the corruption. It would expose the reason. And for you to say hundreds are going to end up being killed is because these are the people who know what's happening. These are the folks that could release the truth, and they're not going to be a part of the end-time New World Order, one world banking system. You know what I'm saying? These are the guys maybe that have a praying grandmother or something. I don't know what it is. I mean, is this thing spiritual too? Is this something to this tied together?
Yeah, that's a really good point because I think it's absolutely spiritual. I go back and I think it's just a wickedness that has taken over everything that was good about America and everything that was, good about humanity. It doesn't mean that humanity is still not good. Like I said, I think the majority are still good. But I think that many of them have been blinded by the greed, by the corruption, by the empty promises of, hey, you could live in your McMansion and basically go into debt and everything is debt-riddled and debt-fueled. That's what our economy is all about. I mean, it's not about real savings. It's not about real production. You look at real manufacturing in this country has been completely eviscerated. 60,000 manufacturing plants shipped overseas in the last 10 years. Detroit, that used to be one of the number one manufacturing cities of the world, in the last 10 years, half of every manufacturing job is gone. So absolutely. I mean, again, when people just allow the criminality and there's not the outrage, there's not people in the streets, they're just going to get away with it.